mean, I definitely think it was time for Golden to go. I mean, we've talked to our friend Cameron Underwood from State of the U, and I think he's very much been on the same train here for a while. Moving forward, I think it's going to be really interesting. There's a lot of people talking about how this is going to be a very defining coaching search for the Miami football program, because you're going to see how much of a priority football is down there. And I think that people might be overestimating a little bit how good that job is. There are some people that would want to call it maybe a top 5 or a top 10 job, and I'm not entirely sure that it is. They've got a lot of things going against them. Talking about not having an on-campus stadium, you talk about some of the facilities that they do have. You know, it is not as glamorous as some might think you would see at the U. And so I'm interested to see what they do. There's been some interesting names thrown around. One of them I heard was Mark Richt up at Georgia. I don't think that there's really any chance that happens. I mean, they're obviously just drawing on his history. He kind of cut his teeth in coaching at Florida State before going to Athens. So I think maybe some of those Florida connections is about it. But that's about, that's the craziest thing I've heard, and I don't expect it to happen. And so I'm interested to see what happens with this coaching search, and I think it's going to tell you a lot about where the Miami program is going moving forward.
I'll give you 3 big positives to this job. Number 1, location. In regards to bringing talent there, people want to go to Miami, they want to go to LA, they want to go to the Deep South, they want to go where it's sunshiny and nice. Number 2, the name brand, there's still something there. I don't know if it resonates with a bunch of 18-year-olds, but maybe it does to a certain extent, because there's more knowledge of what happened in the past in this day and age because of the internet and documentaries, and kids are up to date on what's happened in the past. Whether that resonates, I don't know. And number 3, it's not Iowa or Nebraska that have big name brands, especially Nebraska, and they're expected to win, but where are the players? All we see are dust fields for 1,000 miles. We got to go get players. Unless they play the offensive line, we got to go get players. Miami, it's unbelievable. You talk about Cam Underwood. He's lined up metrics for us in regards to players in their own backyard. They don't have to leave the county to get 4- and 5-star recruits that are going to fill out their scholarship limits for the year. So you don't have to be a great recruiter. Just stay home and take all the 4 stars and pick a few others that you really want from some other states, but basically you can stay home and get the job done. Brittnee, your thoughts on Al Golden, and if you want to throw in anything about the Clemson Tigers as well.
Well, that's a perfect segue. I actually wrote a piece earlier in the week about how Clemson was able to beat Miami on and off the field on Saturday, and that was in recruiting. They were able to walk into an area that's tired of Al Golden. It's got a little bit of disdain for where the program has ended up. They have quite a few players that are from that South Florida, Tampa area. They actually took a picture of all of them together and put it up on the Clemson Twitter after the game. So when you've got a game where so many Miami fans are leaving in droves, the stadium feels almost completely empty after halftime, and the cadence chant is just echoing and ricocheting off all of the empty chairs. What kind of a statement does that send about the dominance of your Clemson Tigers program in the middle of the hotbed of recruiting in a very, very talent-rich state of Florida? So that was actually something that I really thought helped Clemson. It sort of gave them a chance to be able to walk back in there. And Dabo has made no secret of the fact that he loves to recruit in Florida. He says that he gets a big advantage by visiting Tallahassee every other year. And he talked openly before the game about how one of the assistant coaches is assigned specifically to that South Florida area, and they try to take full advantage of that opportunity. So I think that worked out great for Dabo this weekend, that walking in and defeating them by the largest margin in their program's history. And I think that, like Jody alluded to, the firing of Al Golden's interesting because now we have to see how much Miami is willing to pay for a coach. Paul Feinbaum said something really interesting this week. For me, I live in Orlando, so we lost a couple of coaches this weekend. George O'Leary retired at UCF, and Al Golden was fired. And Feinbaum made the statement that he thinks that UCF is a more attractive coaching offer now than Miami is, based on the fact that they don't have a stadium on campus, the facilities aren't as nice as they are at UCF, the coaching job may not pay as well. So I'm really interested to see who would still be interested in the job at Miami. Will we see some of the big names that I think Canes fans expect to see, or will we see a drop-off and Miami have to go after an up-and-comer? I'm really curious, and I think a lot of that is going to come down to the paycheck that Miami's going to be willing to offer.
I will be shocked if Central Florida plays more for a coach than Miami, especially since Miami's talking about when you make a statement that this coach is not good enough to finish out the season, that it's that much of a business. Okay, he hasn't done anything morally or ethically wrong, so it's not one of those situations. It's a football decision, and you made it during the regular season. That means the football program is mighty important. I would think that they're going to shell out some serious dollars. It's been a surprise to me that Al Golden, considering the start that he had, that he weathered the NCAA violations, that he recruited top 25 and sometimes top 15 classes, wasn't able to take a roster that's arguably the most talented in the division and beat the likes of Pitt, Virginia, even at times has lost those games. And we see Duke in the last couple of years jumping up there. Teams that don't compare on the recruiting trail have beaten Miami, and he's 17-18 in the ACC.
Aside from losing and getting completely blown out, it appeared that his team completely quit on him, especially after Brad Kaya got hurt. But even before that, they were giving a terrible effort, and maybe even worse than not giving a great effort, they were pretty classless. We went up, I think it was 35-0, and then there was a personal foul penalty enforced on the kickoff. I mean, when you're getting beat that badly, put your head down, get off the field. And they were just chippy the entire way. They didn't care about winning. They cared about, having swag and starting fights. Dabo Swinney had to keep his team on the field because what he called a Bush League stadium, they have one tunnel, and he knew that if he let the Tigers go in at the same time, they'd get into it. So he was trying to be the more mature coach and have a more mature program that stood for more than just winning. So, yes, you'll lose, and, Al Golden was fired primarily because he didn't win enough games. But that was an embarrassing game in multiple ways for that program. So I'm actually looking forward to them being able to move forward. I have nothing against Miami's program. Hopefully they'll reemerge. They are the best program long-term in the Coastal.